If you're an athlete, you know the greatest motivator of all is the fear of letting your teammates down. After all, a team is only as good as its weakest link. So you owe it to those wearing the same jersey as you to be your best every time you step on the field. That's why there's no vape in team. When you vape, you can expose your lungs to toxic chemicals that can damage your lungs. If you're a step behind, the team's a step behind. Brought to you by The Real Cost and the FDA.
At Sierra, discover top workout gear at incredible prices, which might lead to another discovery. Your headphones haven't been connected this whole time. Awkward. Discover top brands at unexpectedly low prices. Sierra, let's get moving.
Prime Big Deal Days is here. Woohoo! Which can lead to involuntary deal squeals, like the classic deal on a new blender squeal. Yeah! Save big this Prime Big Deal Days, on now.
Welcome to
4Kids Flashback. Hello, and welcome to 4Kids Flashback, the podcast about 4Kids entertainment. I am Tara Sands, and here with me is...
Steve Yurko.
Full disclosure, I asked Steve if we could just whisper this whole episode because I have such a bad headache, but I am powering through. I'm going to be delightful.
And I just had caffeine, so I'm like the polar opposite, so...
I am very caffeinated and very full of Advil. I don't know what that means, but yeah. So hi, guys.
Hello.
Thanks for tuning in. Our guest today is Pete Capella, who is someone I have not met in person before because we did not overlap at 4Kids. So I'm excited to meet him for the first time. Mm-hmm. He was in the video game of Sonic. Did you play that game, Steve? Okay.
Silver the Hedgehog. No, at that point I had kind of tapped out. I'm well aware of the character. I'm, familiar with them enough, but this is for people don't know. Like Silver the Hedgehog made his debut in the infamous Sonic 06 game, as it's now referred to. And he played Silver for a little bit and dabbled in a few roles at 4Kids.
Yeah, we're going to see if we can get his IMDb, make sure it's all accurate, see if there's any roles that are missed on there for to make sure that, because we're nothing if not accurate on this show. Just kidding, we screw up.
But we've done a lot of good. I mean, we've really cleared the air on a lot of stuff, which is great. Because who else is going to do it?
Nobody. I don't think anyone else cares except for us and our fans who are awesome
lovely
about
fans,
caring.
Yeah.
I love how much they care, but at a certain point, sometimes I'm like, guys, this mystery might not get solved. There's some incidental characters that I'm just like, it's okay if we don't solve this. But I mean, I get wanting to. Yeah, I get it. I get the desire, but I just don't.
It's almost like completing a scavenger hunt. Maybe that's what it feels like.
It is frustrating, and I get their frustration and wanting to know, but I also want to hug them and be like, it's okay if we don't figure it out, because I feel like the paperwork doesn't exist that would have had this.
But I've definitely noticed over the years some websites have gotten more accurate, and I think maybe this might have been even before our time, but our podcast has definitely helped. But I remember so many roles were saying it's this actor, and I'm like, I know for sure it's not. I hyperfixate enough to know that I'm like, I know for sure that's not them. But
and once in a while, I forgot why, but I came across I was looking up Chris Colet's page the other day on and on a dubbing wiki, he's still credited as Pearl.
Right.
But everywhere else it's correct. So hey, if anyone wants to go fix that, have at it. I don't know how to fix wikis. I'm terrible at that.
If you listen to our show and you frequent the dubbing wiki.
I didn't even know there was a dubbing wiki. And then I was like, that's not...
There's a wiki for everything now.
Because I thought I was on the One Piece page, and I was like, oh, no, this is a different wiki. Wiki. This is something I looked up today that maybe you can help me understand.
Okay.
So I was like, wait, is Sonic anime? And then I realized that only Sonic X is really considered anime. But what is the... I'm sorry, this is very ignorant of me, but what's the difference between the art style of Sonic X versus the other ones that are not considered anime? Because I just I'm ignorant about this.
Okay. For what I know, hopefully what I say is correct. Like Sonic is a Japanese creation. It was originally created in Japan. Because even like the second game, as we know, it's Sonic 2. That was actually developed in the United States. But other than Sonic X, I think every other animated Sonic show was produced stateside.
So then what would make it an anime? Just that it was
Sonic
created
X?
in Japan?
Yes.
But not everything created in Japan is considered anime.
No, because even Transformers and G.I. Joe from the 80s, those were animated in Japan by Toei Animation, but they're not considered anime. I think it's usually just an umbrella term, like if it's an animated series that was developed and originally released in Japan, it's anime. And I'm sure I'm sure you've heard this too, but like anime is not really a hyper specific term in Japan. That's just their term for animation.
For anime, right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so I guess I was wanting there to be something stylistically that made something anime, but that's just not the case.
Sometimes it's style too, but like Avatar: The Last Airbender is clearly anime influence, but it's technically not anime because it's not,
because it's made here.
Yeah,
I feel like
it's developed here. It's animated overseas, but not like I think that's like I think a lot of it was animated in Korea, if I'm not mistaken. And even despite it looking like it, it's not anime.
Right.
I hope, and that concludes our extensive lesson on what makes an anime.
I listen. Like I assume if I'm confused, then there must be other people who are. But
For sure.
But I also know that the listeners are probably more educated than I am. But I thought maybe as an artist that there was something that you knew that I didn't. But it just sounds like, again, it just was a term that maybe is misused or can mean a couple different things.
Yeah.
So
I mean, yeah, it's like often sometimes, yeah, it's misused, but like the Western world has like kind of like taken it and taken the term and used it for something else. As I said, like Japan will call SpongeBob anime. That's just it's like
yeah, because it's animation.
I think I was at a convention. I was introduced to a Japanese guest. And my friend that was introducing me like referred to Rick and Morty as American anime.
Oh, funny.
Yeah.
Well, and isn't Rick and Morty? I just read that they are doing something.
Yeah, not to be confused with the actual Rick and Morty.
Actual Rick and Morty anime.
But
can that really be called anime if it's not being made? If it's not being created in Japan, or is it?
No, it is being created in Japan.
It is. Okay.
I don't know the studio off the top of my head, but it is all being produced and animated in a studio in Japan. So it's an anime.
Okay. All right. That's our lesson. And we'll be back with the voice of Silver as well as other stuff that we are going to get confirmation of in a minute with Pete Capella. Our guest today is Pete Capella. I'm saying that right?
You're saying it. The easy way is a cappella without the A. Yeah.
But does anyone ever say Pete Capella and go like Spanish?
I'm not
with it?
that cool. I wish they did.
Okay, so our guest today is Pete Capella, whose name I am saying correctly. You know him best from playing Silver the Hedgehog, but we're going to get into all other things about him as well, because he is not just Silver. He's so much more than that.
Ask the fans; they'll disagree.
So welcome to the show, Pete. Thank you for taking time to talk to us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really appreciative.
So I was saying in the intro that you and I never met because I moved in 2005 and you started working there around 2005 at 4Kids.
I did. Yeah. We just missed each other, and then
like ships passing.
And oddly, then I moved to LA in 2007, right after I was working at 4Kids. So anything I did after that was from LA.
It's so weird. And then we realized, just like Pete and I realized in the last few weeks, that we knew all these people in common while we were in New York because we're both from Jersey, which is shout out New Jersey.
Shout out New Jersey.
We should have met. Like it's funny that this is the first time we're meeting.
And I think I've known your name for a long time.
Right, same.
Yeah. So Yeah, I did improv in New Jersey forever and then was in New York and auditioning at 4Kids forever. And somehow we didn't actually cross paths. And then my friends of 25, 30 years were your friends in LA when they first moved here, which is
right.
crazy.
Well, our friend Matt, I did theater in New Jersey with Matt. So with the whole crew from that college they all went to, were you part of that group?
So yes and no. I was the birth of that group in Red Bank, New Jersey. So I did an improv show in Red Bank, New Jersey, starting in 1994. So long ago. That is insane. That is crazy. 30 years ago. Yeah. And then some of those people went on and went to Montclair and they started a group there. I went to school in Maryland. I started an improv group there, then did stuff in New York City.
Got it. Okay. So what did you study in Maryland?
So I went to Salisbury University and it was literally my less than safety school. So I got into Ohio State University. I thought I was going to be a Buckeye. I was accepted into the honors program. I was going to live in the stadium. And then my parents were like, we don't want you to move 10 hours away. So I went to Salisbury. At the time, it was Salisbury State University. They changed their name because of every joke ever made of Salisbury State.
Right, of course.
Yeah.
Oh, I knew. Yeah. That makes sense.
But there it was theater, TV, and radio were all under one communications degree. So that is what I studied. Yeah. And it was awesome because my senior year was essentially me teaching improv to students and then starting an improv show. And so my thesis was, hey, this could work. And started the show there. And then I think it just that group just disbanded recently.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, pretty big run, pretty long run.
So then since radio was kind of part of this curriculum, was voiceover on your radar as a potential career?
No, but radio was. So coming from where we were from, Howard Stern was such a huge influence.
Same. Oh
Right?
my gosh. Okay, this is a separate conversation because I'm a super fan. I listen 4 hours a day.
Really?
When he's not live, I have panic attacks.
Right. Yeah. So I was in that boat for a long time, to the point where had dreams every night that him and I were friends and that we hung out.
What are you, Richard Christie?
I know. So it was it was a very weird thing. And I remember at the time, Rocky Horror Show was playing on Broadway. My girlfriend at the time was a huge fan. I bought good tickets, and sitting 2 rows behind us was Howard. And I was not only starstruck, but also I had better seats than fucking Howard Stern.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I would have been so distracted the whole show.
I was so distracted.
Yeah.
But it was really fun because they let the narrator improvise. And so he improvised about Howard a bunch, and it was really funny.
Which I'm sure Howard hated.
He didn't want anyone to know he was there, of course.
Right. I don't know how you feel, but I do not want to be involved. If I am in the audience of a show, I do not want to be involved.
Yeah. And I'm an attention whore when it comes to that stuff.
Okay.
But not when I'm at a show. I want to be watching the show. Because I know,
Right.
I don't know. I've been an improviser for so long. I'll get up and riff with you if I'm in the show or whatever. But yeah, if I'm there and I'm with my girlfriend and we're watching, just leave me alone.
Right. What about stand-up? Because you've done stand-up. Now,
I have.
Do you want to be, if they're doing crowd work, do you want them to talk to you? Because I do not want to be made fun of.
I don't care if they talk to me. I will, but I will happily give them good stuff. I'm oh yeah, I want to support you. I want to be there for you.
Right. I've yelled stuff out at a show because
Sure.
I know it's going to help. You
Yeah.
can sometimes tell. Yeah.
All right, we got into Howard because I was so entranced by the idea of what radio could be, and so I had a sex talk show in college, much like what was the famous one that was on?
Dr. Drew.
Yeah.
Love
Line, right? And so we called ours Real Talk. And we were sponsored by Planned Parenthood. I just did a ton of research. I thought it was really cool. And then, so when I graduated college, I got a job at Q1043 in New York City. and I got a job offer. And then I did the math and I was like, I can't afford to even commute in from New Jersey.
There's no money
no money in radio. And so like I got a real job at first coming out of college. Like I was like, I owe my parents like this job. Like they sent me to college. I should like be doing this thing, even though I want to just act. And like improv was my thing at that point. Like I've been doing it like to great successes. And so I was trying to balance like working in New York City. I had a really cool job. I worked for American Photo and Popular Photography magazines. And we planned trips across the world for people. So instead of like going into a photography class, you'd pay the same amount of money, but you'd go with professional photographers and have like this like on campus thing in Africa or Italy. I spent a month in Turkey scouting a trip.
So you actually got to travel. Oh, yeah. See, if you're going to have a day job, that's a good one. It
was pretty awesome. But my editor-in-chief was a lunatic and I was miserable. And I like, after not ever really having a pimple in my life, I started getting adult onset acne from the stress that he was giving me. And one day he called me into his office and he's like, you need to decide what you want to do because like you're no Keanu Reeves. And I was like, no, okay, well,
wow.
Yeah. I'm like, well, I don't want to, he had, and this is no joke. He was 45 or 50 at the time. He had 3 heart attacks.
And you're like, that could be me.
Yeah. And I was like, listen, man, I was like, no disrespect. I don't want to be you when I'm 45, 50 years old. So he was like, well, I respect that. And I was the last one in. So the first person let go.
Right.
And a best friend's mom said to me like, hey, man, you want to act. You didn't want to tell your parents you want to act. Just pursue acting. And that's what got me into like putting a voice demo on tape and then getting called into 4Kids.
So, okay. So you made this demo. Did you... do you know how 4Kids got your demo? Did you mail?
Yes. So it was NY casting, just like there's LA casting networks was just becoming a thing, right? Mm-hmm. So it was early 2000s. Nobody was using the internet for casting. They did. And
4Kids did?
Well, that's how they got my demo, at least.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think. Otherwise, I have no idea how they got my demo.
Because I don't know how they got mine.
Oh, interesting.
And that was a few years before all of that. So that's what's funny. Like, they did have an ad in Backstage, so it's possible I sent it. So it's funny that, so they somehow got your demo.
Yeah, they got my demo. I think, I can't remember 30 years ago, but...
How dare you?
I know. But I'm almost positive I sent it to them via NY Casting.
What was your first audition? Do you know?
I think it was for Pokémon.
And you said it right. You're one of the only people who said Pokémon right.
Great. Well, keep that because I'll mess it up a million other times, and then you could just edit it in.
That was excellent.
Great.
I'll chime in really quick, but just I was at a convention and I was just sitting in a panel with a friend and they were just playing old anime commercials from like the 90s, and like a lot of them, every other one was Pokemon because that's all that was advertised back then. I'm amazed how many mispronunciations.
Oh, I bet even in the ads, you mean?
Yeah, the ads all the time.
Yeah, it was always Pokemon.
Well, Michael Hagney, who was part of it from the beginning, he just, I'm going to shame Michael Hagney right now. No one tell him. But he just posted like a video with an announcement of a convention he's doing, and he said Pokemon. And I was like, after you drilled it into us.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. So, but whatever. So, but he's earned it. He's allowed to say it however.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely.
So you remember going to the 4Kids studios for the first time, kinda?
Oh yeah, and like I was still living in Jersey. I never moved to New York proper because I was a 45-minute train ride away, and I loved jumping on the New Jersey coastline Amtrak train and going up to the city. It was like there was nothing better than being on that train and everyone else being on that train, knowing they were going to their miserable 9-to-5 job that I once did. And then I was going to like put a dumb voice on tape and hopefully get a part. Or going for a commercial audition or a movie audition. Like I auditioned for The Sopranos at the time, stuff like that, which is so cool. And one of my biggest, like saddest, I have to tell this story real quick. It has nothing to do with animation, but it's Christopher Walken's wife is one of the casting directors of that. And she was in the room. And I walk in, and before I even say anything, both her and the other casting director were like, "Oh my God, how have we not met you? Where have you been for however many seasons they were at?" And I was like, "Oh my God, well, I don't know what." And there was just so much pressure on me at that point because I was like, I have to impress these ladies. And it was a part that I would never get. It was a security guard who was getting beat up. Like, I looked like a soprano. I'm Italian from New Jersey.
Right.
And at the time, this is 20, 25 years ago, like, I'm rail thin, model type looks. And so, like,
I'm not getting security guard.
Yeah, I'm not going to be the security guard getting beat up. And then I was just like, I don't know, what have I been? And I walked out of that audition and be like, where have I been? What am I doing with my life? Why have I not been in here before? It's all I could think about. Anyway, so
See, I have a worse Sopranos story. I never watched it because early days, before we even knew what The Sopranos was, this guy I was dating got a small part on one of the very first episodes. And he shot it while we were dating, and then we had a really bad breakup. And then I was like, The Sopranos comes on, and it's this big deal. And I'm like, I'm not watching that show. That jerk is on. I mean, he probably had like 2 lines. And so I have never seen the series.
Still never?
Well, I tried to start it recently, and I wasn't ready. Like, I just sort of was like, I need to watch this with somebody because I'm really bad with facial like, if there's a lot of blonde people or a lot of Italian people, like, I think everyone's the same.
Oh, yeah,
that's
for
fair.
sure.
That's fair.
I struggled when I was getting into the series.
Okay.
There was definitely a lot of people I couldn't keep. Yeah.
They get weeded out.
And there's the whole New York side,
totally.
and there's the Jersey side.
But I will say, it is probably the best show ever written on TV, or at least top 3. You should really watch it.
I should.
And it gets, and so I did the same thing with Springsteen. I'm from New Jersey. All anyone talks about is Springsteen. All anyone talked about was The Sopranos. So my thing was like, shut the fuck up. I don't want to watch this, or I don't want to listen to this guy.
Right. Just because I'm from doesn't mean I gotta watch it. Yeah.
And then later on, it's just like, I was actually the same girlfriend that I said, hey, burn me a CD and tell me why I should like Springsteen, where she was, it's 5 seasons into The Sopranos. And she was like, how are you not watching the show? And I watched one episode, and I went back and watched all the episodes because it's that good.
For real foodies, there's nothing better than trying that new restaurant.
I'll have the special, please.
Except returning to your tried and true fave.
Hey, the usual for you?
Especially when you can access over $400 back in dining value annually and 4 times points on restaurants when you use your Amex Gold Card. That's the powerful backing of American Express. Terms apply. Cap applies. Learn more at americanexpress.com/withAmex.
Hey guys, Tara Sands here, and I want to let you know where Steve and I are going to be so we can meet you in person. I'll have something in LA coming up in September, Heroes Hideout, Albany, New York at the end of September, and I'll be in the Houston area October 12th. You can check out our Instagrams and Twitters and all that to find out where we'll be. Steve is at Steve Yurko, and I am at Tara Sands VO, and we hope to meet you in person real soon. Thanks for listening.
Okay, now for the lightning round.
I'm so good at lightning rounds. That's from Friends. It's my favorite show.
20 seconds on the clock starts now. Who is the captain of the USS Enterprise?
Oh, crap. Is it, Captain Stubing? No, Morgan? Crunch?
Next question. Which superhero is Tony Stark?
Stark. Did Game of Thrones have superheroes? I only watched 2 episodes.
What planet were Luke and Leia born on?
Planet Fitness?
Oh, time's up. Sorry. And now, a word from our sponsor.
Hey, everybody. Mandy Kaplan here. Please check out my podcast, Make Me a Nerd, where each week an incredible guest tries to baptize this mainstream mom into the world of sci-fi, fantasy, and all things nerdy. Available wherever you podcast.
That's our show, folks.
Wait. I just thought of it. Padme Amidala gave birth to her twins Luke and Leia on Polis Massa. No, that's dumb. Is it Planet Hollywood?
Have you ever had a Jersey accent? Because you don't at all.
My parents sound like they're from The Sopranos. They say water. The one thing that I said it once in college. I said huge instead of huge.
I do it all the time. I still do it.
And it was in an acting class, and they were like, "Wait, what the fuck did you say?" And also,
I say human instead of human.
Right. By the way, these people were in the Eastern Shore of Maryland. They sounded dumber than I did, but they just heard this accent, and so I just erased that accent from my voice.
Okay, wait. Here's one other word I need to know. Do you say orange or orange?
I say orange, but
I do now, but I didn't.
Purposefully, because I said orange juice.
Yeah,
and I put
I never knew I was like in the minority saying orange juice.
Yeah, I put things in a drawer instead of a drawer.
Oh, I call my dad out on that a lot. Dad, sorry if you're listening. See, Pete understands.
Yeah,
I know. Sorry, Dad.
And for some reason, every store has an S at the end of it. Like, I'm going to Targets. What? You're not going to multiple Target. You're going to the one.
Okay, sorry. This is a 4Kids podcast, and
right.
This is my fault for digressing. Okay.
No, it's great.
So you have were you like excited to go to your 4Kids audition? Did you know anything about it?
So I knew nothing about 4Kids, but I knew I loved cartoons growing up, and I was a comic.
What were your? Oh, sorry. Go on. Comics and cartoons.
Comics and cartoons. So I'm literally wearing an X-Men shirt right now. I know that wasn't part of 4Kids, but so G.I. Joe was my thing growing up. That whole era of cartoons. So I went in the most for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which I loved the original series. I loved the movies. And so all I wanted to do was book a role on Ninja Turtles. And it was like nonstop, go into the city, audition for Ninja Turtles, not get the part. And like over and over and over again. But they did have me going in. You can't actually hear the actual like tone of my voice right now because I've been sick in bed for 4 days. But they had me going and reading for these big, giant, angry characters, the bad guys, because the turtles were cast. That makes sense. But my voice is more like, if you heard my natural voice, you'd be like, that guy should voice Kermit the Frog. He kind of sounds like Kermit the Frog.
And they weren't having you read on that stuff.
No. They knew I had a good range. Wow. I'm so glad you're not using visuals because I look like a sweaty mess right now.
No, you look great.
So they had me going and reading for these big voices and I wasn't getting anything. And it's like out of a movie because this is actually what happened. I was walking out the door after a Ninja Turtles audition that I knew I didn't book. And I was literally halfway out the door. And I don't remember which director came running out. And they were like, Pete, will you try this 14-year-old hedgehog? I know it's not what we have you usually do. And I'm like, yeah, but shouldn't it be? I didn't say that. So and at that point, I'm 20-something years old and I just desperately want a job.
Right. And so at this point, you have not actually recorded anything for 4Kids.
Nothing.
You've just auditioned a lot.
Correct.
Okay.
And like, I'm talking about, I'm bleeding money paying for the train to go up to New York City
Totally. Yeah.
to go to these auditions because no one has a home studio at this time and they're not accepting those submissions anyway. And so I went in and they explained to me that Silver was this 14-year-old hedgehog. He was more, they were like, if there was a world that he lived in, it was more anime than Sonic normally would be. So they didn't, I know a lot of people compare his story to Trunks from Dragon Ball Z. They never mentioned that because they didn't know. If they knew the storyline, then the casting people certainly didn't.
Right.
So they just said he was more anime based. He was young, had a chip on his shoulder, and he was from the future. And at the time, I don't remember exactly if my brother was serving at the time or just got back, but he was this young kid who served in the military with a huge middle child chip on his shoulder. And that's who I based Silver on.
Wow. Okay. So did you know it was for the game specifically or did you?
I had no idea what the hell I was. No, they didn't tell me.
You're
anything.
just like, I'm here. Great. Let me read.
Yeah.
It's such a good lesson too, because it's like, it's the thing you don't expect. Like you went in that day thinking, God, I hope I finally get this Turtles thing or whatever it was. And you leave with this probably cooler thing, part of a video game that so it's just a lesson in like you can't be too precious with certain things. You don't know what the day is gonna hold. Always show up, be ready when they throw shit at you.
Yeah, I feel like that's every actor's story, right? Is like, I had no money. I was ready to give up. I was living in my car. I was doing this, and they said try this other role. Like, I just feel like that happens so often.
It's my whole Bulbasaur story. Like, Bulbasaur was thrown in at the end of the session because we had extra time.
Right.
And now that's all people care about. And I was like, no, but I was so excited to have words to say.
Yeah.
So weird. Okay, so you start where was the first session? Did you guys record that game at 4Kids or a different studio?
We did. At 4Kids. Ironically, I was sick as a dog. It was winter in New York. I just remember there was a Starbucks very close to the 4Kids offices, like downstairs. And I would go in early and get an orange tea with a billion packs of honey and just like chug it before my session and then bring another one up with me and struggle to get through this thing. The cool thing was the first thing I recorded, I went in the city and I just recorded one line the first time. Because what they were doing was a trail. So it was the only time I matched lip flap on a video game.
Right, you never had to do that.
No, never had to do it. Not for the games, at least. But they were doing the trailer for E3 that year, and so Silver comes in at the very end. So the first line I ever recorded, still my favorite line, and I'll attempt to do it with my voice this way. But it was, I finally found him, the Iblis trigger.
Oh.
And I was like, that's so cool. What the fuck's an Iblis trigger? Like, I had no idea what I was saying. But I was so excited.
Were you a gamer at the time? So that must have been even cooler.
Yeah, I was you know why I was a gamer? Because, I mean, I grew up playing video games. It was great. But I was a gamer because when my brother was overseas in Iraq and Afghanistan, they couldn't call, but they could get online and play Call of Duty with me. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, it was really cool. So I would just get online and either play FIFA or Call of Duty with my brother, while he was overseas. It was the way I kept in touch with him.
I love that. I love that. What a weird loophole. To be able
I don't know how that. What a weird loophole that our government doesn't have responsibility for certain things.
So, but for the audition though, it was just like it was just the one audition. Were there any callbacks at all? Because it was a brand new character.
That's really crazy that you asked that. Unless I'm remembering it wrong, I went in once and then I didn't hear back for at least a month. Like, it was a long time. And then they called me and told me I got the part. And I don't remember a single callback, and I couldn't believe what was happening. I was like, I don't understand. Like, I never went back in. I didn't have to do anything. Like, what's going on? Is a month like a common turnaround? It doesn't seem like it should be.
It was all over the place.
Totally.
Because we have a similar story with another actor who portrayed like a brand new Sonic character for a previous game, and it felt like it was this big kind of just approval process with Sega, with them I think even being there in person.
Erica's
and
story.
It just seems like
totally different story. Yeah.
And for the same game,
with
right?
Silver.
Well, she was in the. Well, this was for the anime.
No, I think it was.
It wasn't?
No. I think it was for it was a DS game that came out before this one, I believe, because I know Erica's character is in the one with Silver, but I was expecting, I'm like, oh wow, they probably had like a million
You'd remember
notes.
If you went through the process.
I think so. I like, unless I'm like a 1,000,000% like mixing up, because no, I definitely would have remembered, because the recording process stands out in my head very much so, because it was an American director, a translator, and then 4 or 5 Japanese directors from Sega who spoke zero English. So everything that, everything had to go through multiple translations and back and forths. to get the right takes.
Wow. So do you know who the voice director was on this?
couldn't-
Do you
I
know
could-
anyone's name in that room?
I could not at the time. I mean, it was a guy and he had dirty blonde hair, and I could pick out his face in a lineup, but I don't remember his name.
Andrew Rannells was directing.
It wasn't Andrew Rannells. I would remember that. I
Yeah.
think.
Huh. I wonder who it was. So I'm sure.
I bet I could dig through emails and find out.
All right. If you find it, I'll punch in right here and tell them if you found it. If I don't, it means you didn't find it.
Okay.
Okay. So you must have been psyched. Who was like the first person you told when you were like, I'm Silver the Hedgehog?
So at the time I was living with my then girlfriend, and my sister also lived with us in like a little condo. And so I told them, and my sister said, "You're voicing a character in Sonic the Hedgehog. What are you going to say? Coin, 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 coin," which I thought was a very funny, stupid joke.
Yeah.
So yeah, and those are the people, and like no one knew what it meant, and I didn't know what it meant because there were no storyline Sonic games at the time.
Right. Okay, so Jason Griffith, Sonic, has been in the news recently because he talked about that they did a version where he cursed in some takes. They weren't sure what they were going to use. Was that a game that you worked on as well?
That was for Jason and I toured together so much that I know all of Jason's stories and I can tell them.
Reveal it all.
And I also know that Jason was misquoted by a fan,
Yes.
and then somebody like just told IGN, I guess, like this misquoted thing, and they were like, "Let's print it."
Right, I saw that, and he's like they pretended it was like hours and hours of cursing, and he's like, no, like maybe there's like an outtake or two.
Yeah. He said there was a couple takes of like they weren't sure. So that was for the game Shadow the Hedgehog, and I think that came out right before Sonic 06 is what they called it.
Okay.
And so that was not the case with Silver. There was no.
You didn't get to say "screw you, Sonic."
No, there were no big F-bombs in the future.
Okay.
I think it might have been Chris Collet who directed
it was Chris. Yes, that's correct.
Okay, that adds up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I don't have to like jump in and do any editing, which is great. So you start doing this game. You're still living in New York, Jersey at this time.
Yep.
You did work on some other 4Kids stuff, and I want to make sure that we get it right on IMDb because IMDb is a really imperfect place. So I'm going to tell you what it thinks you did.
I know what it thinks I did.
Okay,
I don't have the actual answer for you. So it's so weird because I was such an irresponsible actor then. I could tell you everyone I've auditioned for in Los Angeles who called me back, what my relationship is with them, because I realized, that's part of the job. But at the time, I had no idea. So I recorded some Dexter for Yu-Gi-Oh.
Okay, so that's correct.
Yes, but there's 2 different ones on there, and I don't know if it's real or not. And I also I don't know what they used or not. I don't remember getting what I got paid for that or anything. I just don't remember anything back then.
Here's what's great about this podcast. We're solving mysteries. Okay, our Discord army, or you guys listening, send us some sound clips that we can play for Pete so he can confirm or deny what is him.
Well, so I've even gone back and found footage of the show, and I'm like, huh.
Oh, you can't tell?
Sounds like me.
Oh, never mind then. Oh God.
It's such a weird thing. I've had multiple things taken down from IMDb too.
Okay, good.
So like on like being like, I don't know what this is. What is going on? So yeah, I don't know. I would love to know. I wish that the 4Kids people, maybe I'll just try to dig through old emails again and find out.
Yeah, I mean, because if you moved in 2000, I mean, it helps to know that you moved in 2007, you said, or 2006?
Yeah, February 07.
Okay, so that does help a little bit because then we know anything done after that would not be you because they weren't recording remotely at that time.
Correct. I recorded the rest of my Silver game, like 7 other games remotely, just because I had created the voice and they didn't want to lose me on that voice, I guess.
So some other people, like Sam Riegel, who worked on Turtles, they made him find a studio if he wanted to keep the job. Did they actually get you a studio, or did you have to get one?
I think so. I had good representation at the time, and they just worked it all out. Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, listen, you're one of the few people who got to, and I think it's probably because Sega was so involved. There are so many stories about people, the minute I moved, the minute anyone else moved from an anime, they replaced us. So It's great. You were lucked out that it was a game and that it was important like that, because you got to keep your job, and I'm so jealous.
Totally. Yeah, I was very lucky, So I did that dumb actor thing that so many actors do, where I was like, okay, I did this thing, but it's just because, we got paid nothing at the time.
Right.
So I was like, I did this thing. It was really fun, but it's silly. I'm a serious actor. I'm doing TV and film. At the time, I was auditioning for everything and anything before celebrities were taking even guest star roles and co-star roles. And so I was like, I just don't want this thing hanging over my head. And that's such a dumb way to look at it, but it's also a 29-year-old dude way to look at things.
Yeah. Well, that's what I always tell people. Like, when I was doing this stuff, like, I enjoyed working at 4Kids, but it paid for my serious theater habit at night. I would go do my plays for no money and, fancied myself very serious, and then I could talk funny during the day, and that was a great way to make a living. And now, God, I mean, I'm in love with voiceover, and it's all I do, and I'm like, I wish I had appreciated it as much then as I do now.
Yeah, I got burned a couple times too when I came out to LA with some voiceover stuff, and that really soured me on it. Without even mentioning the show name, I auditioned for a show. It was a brand new show. There was no voice for the lead character. I sent in an audition. I didn't get it. No big deal. Didn't think anything of it. And a year later, my agent said, hey, Pete, I have a voice match audition for you. Don't be mad. And I was like, what does that even mean? Don't be mad. And it wound up the creator of the show just stole my audition voice and did it for a year, and then kind of went off the rails with sexual assault and craziness in the office, and relieved himself from the show. And then they wanted me to voice match something I had already done. And then I still didn't get the part, which is even crazier.
Right. When you're the prototype. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I just got soured on it for a long time. And when that agent, who I just loved, retired from the business, I was just like, okay, I think I'm done with voiceover. And I did for a long time. I just kind of stopped doing it.
Wow. So is it something you would consider going back to now?
Oh, I am back. And I'm
back.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell us what you're doing then.
I mean, I'm auditioning like crazy. Like the numbers of auditions that I have right now are just through the roof.
Yay.
For wonderful, amazing things. I have a great agent. I'm very excited. But it's one of those things, like, I never regret anything. Everything's a learning experience. But if I didn't step out for those few years and then attempt to come back when celebrity voices were everything, I'm sure I would have been much farther along in that voiceover career.
I have to tell you, I did this. We have very similar stories. Like, when I moved out here, I was like, no more anime. Because I was burned by 4Kids because of the way we were treated. The shitty rates, and without getting too into details about, because we've gone into that on this podcast. I was like, okay, I'm not doing this anime anymore. I want to do new animation, video games, blah, blah. And I did that, but in retrospect, I'm like, wow, there's some cool roles I could have done during that time.
Totally.
And then I went back to it, and I'm glad I went back, but it was a decision. I don't know.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and I did amazing. Like, I was the voice of Visa campaigns for a little while and stuff like I did a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But
cool.
It was, I guess you learn. I might be misremembering the story, or like it just happened all at the same time. But so I had never done conventions before. None of us had. It was 2010. Someone got in touch with myself, Jason, Mike Pollock, and Lisa Ortiz, and asked us to come to Sonic something or other, some Sonic convention in Texas. And so I hadn't seen them. I had only met Jason, by the way, during recording. We never.
Oh, you never met anyone else. Okay.
No. So, and Jason doesn't even remember meeting me. It was just a very specific time where he was leaving the booth. I was coming into the booth and they said, "Hey, Pete, can you and Jason get in the booth and do some background voices?" And we just messed around in the booth and had cracking each other up, but he doesn't remember that story. And now I rub in his face.
Well, you must have not been that funny.
Yeah, I'm a better friend is really what it is. So we went to this, I'm sure Jason might have talked about it. We went to this convention and it was the worst. And they didn't pay us and because they were supposed to and they didn't. And like all they wanted to do was take us out and get us drunk. And we're like, yeah, but that's not why we're here. Like we're here to do. And we did like a couple of panels. So I think this is how it happened. And I've asked Jason, Lisa, and Mike, and they're all like, yeah, that sounds right. But I'm pretty sure somebody at one of the panels, one of the fans was like, hey, well, how do you guys feel about being replaced as the cast? And we were like, how do we feel about what now?
Oh, my
None of us knew. 4Kids never told us.
But did Mike know at that point? Like
Yes.
Mike must. So Mike didn't tell you.
Mike knew. Yeah.
Yeah, I know, but that's a weird. He was put in a really
Yeah. I don't blame Mike. He also probably didn't know whether we were still on or anything. He just knew that he was re-auditioning.
Wow, that is very awkward.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm sorry. That's how you found it. But today it would be Twitter that you'd find out on.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I won't call it X. We have some questions from fans. I don't know if we've hit on some of these, but let me just read through these with you. Blue Baron would like to know something we did talk about. If there was any other 4Kids work that you did that is not listed, they want to know if you remember if you played Oh, Steve, help me out here. Rapa Nui from One Piece.
Oh, Rapa Nui from
right?
One Piece.
Do you have any recollection of just working on One Piece?
I know. I know the character.
I definitely did not work on One Piece. I wish I did. I think One Piece was before my time at 4Kids, to be honest with you.
Was it?
Would have been because that's like 2004 through 2000.
So,
I guess it could have been the tail end. I remember then maybe because I knew the title, so maybe I auditioned for that part, but it was not me.
Okay, Blue Baron. Well, so let's get on this Rapa Nui and send me a soundbite. We'll try to figure out who played that. The next question is from Paper Splash. We did go into this, how you got the role on Silver. Shane on Yu-Gi-Oh! Dexter 5Ds. Shane Jordan sound familiar at all on Yu-Gi-Oh?
So that's popped. I took that down from IMDb a couple times because I just don't know what it is.
That's the one that you're confused. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just don't want to take credit for someone else's work. I think that's so...
I'd rather take it down, and even if I'm wrong, because sometimes people will bring me stuff to sign, and then I just feel bad if I'm not positive.
Totally. And also, like, it was so long ago. I don't know how it's so unclear, but I also remember, like, I looked, I guess IMDb kind of launched when Sonic
maybe
did.
Around that time, yeah.
So, at one point, I was like, number in the top 2,000 actors on IMDb, and it's like, what the hell? I don't remember being that famous. But yeah.
Well, what's funny about the 4Kids shows is they didn't individually credit actors. They just would put a list of names. So even if you had just if they had pulled you into a studio for One Piece and been like, hey, just yell as a background character, you would have been on the cast list. So it's been very frustrating.
Yeah. I mean, okay, so then my answer is I don't think so because I don't remember getting a paycheck from One Piece.
So we've dispelled that rumor.
Yeah.
Tell us, before we let you go, though, tell us if there's other stuff we can see you in that, or what you're doing or what you want to do, put it out there. I'm not a real big manifester, but why not?
Cool. Great. Yeah, I mean, so I am out in LA doing film and TV. You could catch me on stuff. I don't know, all over the place. I don't know when this is going to air. I don't think I have anything coming up. I think everything's kind of already aired, but you can find it.
What's your Instagram? Where should they follow you?
At Pete Capella on all social media. I just try to make it easy for you guys. Or at Pete Capella if we're getting fancy.
Well, I think some people were like creative with their social media handles early on, and now they regret it because they're like, oh wait, like we're doing this.
I'm like the opposite.
Right, like keep it basic. Mom, just Tara's.
I remember wanting to have the coolest AIM screen names, and like I was indelible reverb on AIM and Yahoo forever. I was Jester 8675. Like who why didn't someone be like, Pete, you're an idiot?
Because no one knew that we would care and that people would need to find us. Like we just did this Streamily. This will air in a few months, but we're working on this Streamily signing right now.
Yeah.
And when I sent them a list of like anyone I could find to be like, hey, here's some 4Kids people if you want to reach out to them. And he's like, well, I can't find them on social media. And I'm like, that's because their name is like some ridiculous. So I was like, no, they're on there. Here's their thing. Yeah. So it pays to be simple, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, okay. So follow Pete. I'm trying to think of Steve. Did you have any more questions before we wrap up?
So you said you've been doing more conventions. Said you've done a bunch with Jason. Like, I'm curious what is the most common question you get about Silver, or what's the one thing fans are just always dying to hear from you?
It
is
these
conventions.
Everybody wants to hear the line from the meme. So
what's that?
Mm-hmm.
It's no use. So there's a part in the game where Sonic and Silver are fighting, and the glitch. I don't think it's a glitch. It's just not well thought out. In that every time I think you're Sonic at the time, and you're fighting Silver, and every time you attack him and you miss him, he yells, "It's no use. Take this." Over and over and over again. And so it became a meme. And so it's all, I say it a billion times. And, I'm right now, my only job other than acting is touring conventions. And I love it. I love the fans. I love the community. It's so great. I never knew it would affect people the way it does.
Yeah.
Or did. I've had grown men break down in tears multiple times in front of me. I was, ready to unalive myself, and your character helped me through it. Or my parents abandoned me, and your character's storyline, there was just so much feeling in what you did. So I love that so much. But the number one thing is, will you say the line, "I'm so sorry, but will you say it?" And I'm like, Don't be sorry.
That's why
first of all, I'm a meme, and that's cool enough. But the fact that I have said something that is so embedded in the canon of your favorite characters that you want to hear it, I will do it until my voice is gone.
Oh. So since you were a gamer, did you play the game as soon as it came out?
I did, of course. I literally...
what do you have?
This is my original Xbox 360 Sonic 06. It is the original copy, yeah. I had to buy it. It was the only one that... It was the only way to hear myself because they didn't give us shit.
Right. It's not like we were sent a copy of anything.
No, can you? We don't need to talk about how much they made making this game and how little we got paid. Just send me a friggin' copy of the game. But I had fun playing through it until everyone else's complaint was my complaint, where I'm just like, okay, get me through this stupid level so I can. The only way I've actually seen all the scenes I've done is watching the cutscenes.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, because the game was pretty glitchy at some points.
But how cool. I mean, the truth is you were young and to be able to play and find yourself in a game.
Yeah.
I mean, like for all the nonsense and whatever, like we are very grateful. And I mean, especially that we get to do these conventions. And I'm glad you said that. Yeah, Pete, in Howard Stern's words, you've said it all. That's how he ends every interview. You've said it all. Thank you so much for taking time to talk to us.
Oh, it was my absolute pleasure. It was so much fun. You guys are awesome.
Aw, what a nice guy. I'm so glad that I met Pete Capella finally.
From New Jersey.
Jersey. Well, a fellow Howard Stern fan, which makes me happy. So.
Mm-hmm. No, that was you were saying like, oh, no one cares about this, but no, I like when everyone on the podcast feels like a human being and they could, they could relate and talk about the things they like. No, never.
I enjoy that, and I enjoy listening to podcasts like that, but I never know if it's universal. So I get, I get in my head about it, but you're right. It humanizes people. So
what would we be if we just brought Pete on, just immediately just asked him
silver.
No, I thought that was great. It was a great time chatting with Pete on this episode.
Yeah, and anyone casting for voiceover stuff, I'd love to hear him get back into some
conventions
animation.
too.
So, yeah, he's out there. He's hitting the pavement. But yeah, it is funny. Like, even though we were there at different times, we have that same shared feeling of like, I'm a serious actor, but I'm doing cartoon. Like, and now, my God, it's such a mainstream thing, and celebrities weren't doing this at the time. I mean, Robin Williams, but aside from that, yeah. I hope I get to do this forever, but I am prepared for the robots to take over. So
you and I both,
right? It's a weird time to be a creative.
Tumultuous.
Tumultuous is a good word for it.
And when this comes out, who knows what further developments have happened, but
let's hope none.
Yeah, let's not end this on too dour.
Yeah, no, we don't. AI's talk is just depressing, but no, Pete was great. I'm so glad. It makes me wish I was more of a gamer, because I'm just bad at games, and so they're not intuitive to me. But when
have you ever played a
Pokemon?
Have you ever played
Pokemon Go?
That
does that count?
I expected that.
Really...
No, it's fine. I mean, that kind of Pokemon Go is a worldwide phenomenon, so I won't knock anyone. And also, like, just mobile games are just huge now. It's like,
well, also because back in the day, like, if I wanted to play a Pokemon game, I had to have the device that it was played on. So that console. I had to have a console, and if you didn't have a console, that was it. So like, this was the first time when a Pokemon game I had the right console, which was a phone. So like, I'm sure I would have if I had any kind of, I mean, the first I had an Atari, obviously, and a Nintendo back in the day, but there was a huge gap when I didn't have anything until the Wii.
Yeah.
So, and I guess at that time, none of my friends were playing, like, to hand over, even my cousins. I'm trying to remember if, like, they would were on a game. I mean, I had a Game Boy to play Tetris, and that's all I played. Oh my! I should. I bet I would
red
like,
version for Pokemon, but for the Game Boy.
Or Snap. Was that
Snap?
Did you play
Snap was Nintendo 64.
Did you love Snap?
I loved Snap. I remember it. I have some sort of trauma tied with Pokemon Snap, because the first day I got it, my brother's friend stole it from us. And
what?
I would have liked
it. Okay, wait. I want to. Can we shame and name him?
No, I will not, because they apologized. And
oh, they did. Okay.
And I
was ready to get it back.
And I think not someone I keep up with, but I think all's well that ends well. But that
did
happened.
You get it back? Like, what happened?
I wish. Okay. I mean, I was like 10 years old. I wish I could have been cooler. I'd been like, let's go back and beat him up. But no, I cried a bunch, and then I went with my dad and my brother, and just waited in the car as my brother and my dad went to the friend's house. And
because that's not cool. Like, you can't just.
No. And kind of like, I'm saying TMI here, but it was also like he came from like their family was a little bit lesser income there and stuff like that. And I think I kind of recognized that too. I realized that, but I really wanted to play the game.
Well, because like the anime, like something we've spoken about, is because it was available on a lot of free channels. It was like an equalizer because everyone had access to it. But then once you were talking about the games and the consoles and all that stuff, there's a real barrier to entry economically to have all that stuff.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I think even
but the cards, you could convince, like, because a pack was cheap enough at the time.
Yeah.
That barrier to entry wasn't there. So that is kind of cool, because even someone maybe in a lower economic area could watch the show and buy one pack of cards.
Yeah.
Which makes you feel involved. But a game is a different level.
Mm-hmm. And it just makes a lot of sense why so many of these shows take off. Because it's not like, it's not basic cable. What was Pokemon on? Because
I think it was like network television.
Network television. Sorry, thank you. Pokemon was on network television, so very
unless
accessible.
Canada. I think Canada had it was trickier to see.
I don't quite understand the ins and outs of YTV over there, but I'm sure friends north of the border could always give us a history lesson on that.
How much was a pack of Pokemon cards? Do you remember?
If I can recall, just off the top of my head, I'm gonna say $3 or $4, maybe.
Oh, it was even that much. I thought it was even less than that. Okay. But that could be a birthday present. Like, it wasn't a crazy ask, at least.
Maybe that's put in like with a birthday card or something like that.
Right.
No one's gonna turn down more cards.
No, and because I kind of love some like a toy or a thing, like a craze that everyone can afford to be into, which is nice. Because you never want to feel like you go to that's that awful feeling when you go to school and everyone is like able to have something you don't have, and it's just it hurts my stomach to think about. Yeah. On that note, we forgot to tell you this at the beginning of the show, but if you could do us a big favor, I hate asking favors, you guys, but it would really help us out if whatever app you're listening to, if you could like subscribe, rate, and review, it really does help us. I don't know how long we will do this show for, but the more the people listening, the more people that are interested in subscribe, rate, and review, the longer we get to do this. So we appreciate that.
Love doing the show, but it's like, it lives or dies with the listeners.
Listeners.
Yeah.
The other thing you can do, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/4Kids Flashback. If you want to spend $5 a month and get these episodes early and without ads and join our Discord, you can sign up at Patreon. What else?
If you like us so much, we even have some merchandise that's made to order. It's got our logo on it. The one
Steve
I
designed, yes. That's at 4kidsflashback.com. Click on like the store or the shop thing there. You could follow us on social media at 4kidsflashback. Steve is at Steve Yurko. I am at Tara Sands VO for voiceover. I don't know why I did that, but I did. See, Pete Capella kept it simple. He was smart. The other thing you could do is go to speakpipe.com/4kidsflashback. Leave us a message, and you might hear yourself on an episode. We also have an eBay page where we are raising money for charity with autographs. You can find a link to that at our 4Kids Flashback page. Blah, 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 blah. Yada, 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 yada. We will
catch you next time.
4Kids Flashback is a production of Maji Media, hosted by Tara Sands and Steve Yurko.
Producers are Zach Logan, Tara Sands, and Steve Yurko.
For more information, go to 4kidsflashback.com. That is the number 4. And if you worked at 4Kids and have a story you want to share, please email us at 4kidsflashback@gmail.com.
You can find us on social media at 4Kids Flashback, and to listen early and ad-free, head to patreon.com/4kidsflashback. And for podcast merchandise, find links on our website and Linktree.
As they say on every podcast, if you liked this show, please subscribe, rate, and review, and tell your friends, or 4. If you want to check out other Maji Media podcasts, go to maji.media. Thanks for listening.